It's dangerous, playing with fire to create yourself a nemesis like that. But, Jack loves that.
Yeah,
that's why he jumped over the candlestick, probably.
Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Interlude 11B, parentheses, anniversary bonus.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I also saw that there are a couple more, at least. I didn't really see.
Okay. So
I think it's going to be people encountering more of the Slaughterhouse 9.
Okay.
That's the theme we're getting so far.
That's your prediction.
Yeah.
So how many interludes is that?
I mean, I guess it would have to be 8.
Interesting.
But I don't know that it looked like there were 8, but I wasn't. Yeah. I was trying not to look, so...
I think I can fill you in, without confirming that the anniversary bonus chapters were released on off days. So, to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Worm, Wildbow was releasing 1 chapter every day, starting with the bitch interlude. So,
okay.
This was a chapter written and released 1 day after the previous one. And that's going to continue as long as this goes.
I mean, then I'm going to have to predict that we get all 8 of the reduced Slaughterhouse 9.
Incredible. An 8-day run.
I think one of them's going to go for Skitter.
Interesting.
Like, how would they not go for Skitter?
Interesting.
I hope it's Shatterbird and she can try to shatter her contacts more. No, Shatterbird's really just the only other one whose name I remember.
Well, I mean, if you want to get into predicting more interludes now, you can. But we could also circle back to that at the end.
I did such a good job predicting the Ward interludes. I feel like I kind of have to attempt to do that again, but I don't even remember who all the Slaughterhouse 9 are, so it's tough.
And you got like a paragraph on them. It's pretty,
Right. We had like really seen the wards. Yeah. Okay, but I think it's my turn to summarize.
Yes.
Do you want to hear about this interlude?
I do.
So we're hanging out with Theo. I think we did establish that from the first sentence. This is Kaiser's son, the late ungreat Kaiser. He is now hanging out with Aster, the baby, and Jack / the leader of the Slaughterhouse 9. Theo is like sitting there at the beginning, like terrified. Well, Jack experiments with cooing over the baby and is like, no, don't really see the point. And it's like, the baby needs a change, and throws her at Theo, and Theo scrambles to catch her. He seems very protective of Aster in this whole chapter. We don't get a lot of like hyperbolic like declarations of love in his mind for her the way we did from Purity, but like he seems to care about her. So they have a conversation about how Theo's father taught him to address his betters as Sir, so that's why he's calling Jack / Sir, and he's like, hopefully that's kept me alive a little bit. But he's really worried. He's like, something is going to set this guy off, and he's crazy. Like, this is not going to go well. Jack wants to know how long until Purity gets back. They have a conversation about how Purity's not Theo's mother. According to Theo, she likes him because he helps out, he doesn't cause problems, but she doesn't love him because she reminds Theo of his father, who did not treat her well. Jack is like, do you have some of your father in you? And Theo says that he would like to think not. So we kind of get his stake in the ground on the Empire 88 question. Jack tells a story about meeting Kaiser years ago when the Slaughterhouse 9 showed up at a meeting of different villain gangs and ended up being contracted to kill some of the Protectorate, ended up killing the Protectorate and the team that contracted them, whole mess. But he's like, very few people would meet my eyes, even among these villains, and Kaiser was one of them. And they end up in a conversation about how Jack, like Kaiser, likes to think of himself as a people reader. He likes to find people's keystone, the stone that keeps the arch from collapsing, the weak point, and then he likes to take it out. And he says, or he gets Theo to say that, like, Aster is basically Purity's weak point. That's why he's in this apartment. And Jack gives Theo a little context that his, fellow gang members are all busy with a task tonight, and Jack bet on the wrong horse, and he leads Theo to the bathroom where Oni Lee is bleeding out in the bathtub. And Jack, it seems, had approached Oni Lee as a potential new recruit for the Slaughterhouse 9, and usually what they do, as he says, is like one of the other members of the Slaughterhouse 9 will test a potential recruit that someone else picked out. But Jack decided to do a little testing of his own before bringing Oni Lee to the rest of the gang because something seemed off, and he discovered that while Oni Lee can duplicate his body, part of his brain or something gets left behind, so he doesn't really have... Like, he has a functioning mind, but there's not, like, content there, sort of how Jack puts it. We can get into it more, but he ends up telling Oni Lee he doesn't want him. They fight, and Oni Lee clearly loses and is dying in the bathtub here. And Jack tells Theo that his plan here is that the moment that Purity walks through the door, Jack is going to kill Aster and Theo and see how she reacts when her keystone crumbles. And Theo's like, well, she'll kill you. And Jack's like, she'll try. And then Jack has this sort of philosophical conversation with Theo where he's like, I like to imagine the impact of the kills that I do. Like, what life they would have had, what impact those people would have had on the world. Like, who are you, boy? Tell me. And Theo admits to him that he wants to be a superhero. He says, I wanted to be a superhero. He thinks he's going to die. But he doesn't want to be a member of Purity's group, and he doesn't want to cleanse the world or try to fix things by killing or through hate. And Jack's like, well, what would you do about someone like me? And Theo, in sort of uncharacteristic, he thinks, courage, says, like, people like you, I'd kill, sir. And Jack is really entertained by that. Is like, I can't even imagine that. I've changed my mind. I'm going to cut you a deal. You're 15. I'm going to give you 2 years to get your powers, train up, and become someone who could kill someone like me. And then you track me down, you get by my gang, you kill me, and if you fail or you can't find me or you chicken out, I will kill 999 people in your name. Aster will be the 999th, and you'll be the 1000th. And the idea is that that will cancel out any good impact that Theo had in the world during those 2 years. So Jack's like, all right, well, I'm leaving. I'm, totally new plan. Throws Oni Lee over his shoulder as a treat for a teammate.
Ugh.
Yeah. Did we have a vampire suspect among
I don't think you predicted vampire. We can talk about them all.
We can talk about it. Jack opens the door and Purity's standing there with the groceries. I forgot to mention that during this conversation, Theo had noticed his phone like buzzing on the coffee table. It's like, Purity's the only one who calls me. She calls when she reaches the lobby with the groceries because she wants me to come down and help. So she's almost here. And in fact, she is here. And Jack and Purity kind of face off. And Jack's like, no, don't even bother killing me. You have a weakness. You need to absorb light. And when you fight and use your power, you expend light. It's been cloudy all week and you've been fighting a lot. So I bet you couldn't take me out. And basically calls Purity's bluff and tells Purity, like, this kid, Theo, is the only reason that you and your daughter are alive. Train him, make him strong, make him vicious, let him take whatever path he needs to take. And Caden is like, what is going on? And Jack escapes, but she accepts the deal, basically, because apparently she doesn't think she can kill Jack right now, or she isn't willing to stake Aster's life on it. Jack leaves, and Theo gives Aster back to Purity and is like, wow, 2 years. And that's the end of the chapter. Ooh. Fascinating. I love this in conjunction with Dinah's prediction. Dinah's odds.
Made the connection.
At the end of Arc 10. I mean, yes, Dinah's prediction was 2 years. Sometimes 2. I just looked it up. Sometimes 2, sometimes 8, sometimes something in between. But I'm really curious about what it is that triggers everyone dying. Is it what Theo does to Jack? Is it what Jack does if Theo fails? Like, that seems a little more likely given the timeline. So there's like an 80-something% chance of Jack doing this thing. If Jack kills 999 people, including Aster, possibly killing Aster is the thing that does it. But maybe there's someone else he's gonna kill that does this. And that results somehow in the world ending. Like, I feel like we're missing a piece still.
Right.
But this is a lot more pieces than we had. And just the 2-year timeline is too big a coincidence for this not to be what it's about.
Yeah. And I mean, involving Jack, right? He's the one.
Yeah, right. He's the one who does it.
Yeah.
He just did this. He just pushed Theo to become a badass superhero.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the story has been about unintended consequences. It's possible that Theo does something.
Yeah.
Once he's this badass superhero that ends the world. It might be one of those twisty prophecies that, like, oh no, it needed to happen. It would have been worse if it didn't happen, kind of thing. Like, it's not necessarily even that Theo does something that's a mistake or evil or, accidentally wrong or anything. It could be,
Yeah, it's also, not to encourage or discourage any of your further speculation, but one of the things that I really like about it is his whole contingency thing, because he talks about the butterfly.
So
flapping
much
its
about
wings,
that.
and what he finds appealing is like, I'll do something to cancel out all of your good impact, right? And the idea that one of the 1,000 people could somehow be like preventing the end of the world, and by Jack like happening to kill them, right? Like that could have such a big unintended consequence, right?
I mean, it would have to be someone like, I don't think the world has like a dead man switch set up.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, so
it could be something really indirect where it's like, this person was going to save the world, but instead they're dead, so they can't. Like, maybe.
Right. There's the question of, does Theo succeed or fail, right? We have kind of a countdown thing, but if Theo fails, Jack's consequences seem more likely to set it off. But if Theo succeeds, that's sort of a whole different set of things, right?
If Theo doesn't succeed within 2 years, like if it's something that happens if Theo succeeds, then he's going to be trying to succeed within 2 years.
Yeah.
If he doesn't succeed within 2 years, presumably he'll still keep trying to kill Jack, because Jack is killing 999 people in his name, and then he's going to come kill Theo. It's not like he's like, well, I missed the deadline, I guess I'm going to stop trying. Like,
that's a good point.
So it could be something that Theo does, and it just takes somewhere from 2 to 8 years for him to track down Jack and kill him. That means that there would be like an 80-something% chance that Theo succeeds.
Interesting.
Which seems high.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He's not a cape.
He doesn't even have powers yet.
He's just a guy.
I was like, did he have a trigger event in this scene? No. Like, he says he'll probably have powers because his father is Kaiser. And that's true. I mean, powers are hereditary.
Yeah.
But, presumably not every kid of a cape gets powers. Like, I don't know the stats on that. I don't think we've heard whether it's absolute. He is 15 and hasn't gotten powers yet. It seems like a lot of people who get powers do it, in adolescence. So he's, like, not out of the window, but he's like in the higher end.
Of all the things to go through, right? Just Theo's narration in this scene, it reminded me a little bit of what happened to Hannah in her flashback pre-trigger event, just being so paralyzed, and we saw Scrub earlier in this arc so overwhelmed in the arena.
Right.
And so it's
Theo
a little bit
get triggered here.
Right. So to your point of speculation about how everything worked with Scrub is like, is the fact that all of this happened and Theo didn't trigger, does that somehow mean like he can't? Is it a fluke of cosmic luck that like one of those entities isn't nearby enough? The veil happens to be too thick, but otherwise
cloudy.
Right. So like, and of course, traumatic stuff, it must happen to people all the time in this world without them having trigger
Trauma
events.
is so common and capes are not.
Right.
So, yeah.
But it is really interesting, and it's also a really fun narrative twist on the sort of like inducing trigger events in other people is such a horrifying notion considering what happens. But here we have the like
this is really intense psychological torture. Yeah.
Yeah, this perverse incentive here. And also it's for a good cause, right? It's like this idea that like, oh yeah, well, I have to trigger, so like something terrible has to happen to me.
No, Theo's going to be so self-destructive.
Right, in order to achieve this more noble goal, right? It's a very fun narrative twist. And I mean, I feel like that's also part of why Jack was intrigued, right? I feel like he kind of recognizes that, and he's like, oh, this is fun.
He's right.
I'm going to torture this kid.
Yeah. Set him up as like his nemesis.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, playing with fire to create yourself a nemesis like that. But, Jack loves that.
Yeah,
that's why he jumped over the candlestick, probably.
Yeah, I mean, so do you have any other predictions about the end of the world mechanism? I mean, we don't have...
As soon as we got Jack's name, I was like, oh, either Theo or Aster is going to cause the end of the world.
Oh, okay.
That was my,
like,
just because I knew that he was going to do something that caused the end of the world in 2 years, And we've had hints that, like, Aster is important before.
Okay, yeah.
And, kind of in a weird, like, oh, the white baby is the savior or ruin of the world. It's a little bit like the perfect white child is super important, is like a little bit awkward. But
it's also, I mean, certainly we've mostly seen Aster from Caden's point of view, and that is absolutely Caden's point of view on it.
Yeah.
But it's also just the fact that she is a third generation Cape, right? Which is, they're probably, timeline-wise, there are not that many that have existed so far.
True. Was
right?
the Allfather actually Kaiser's father? Do we know that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, when we got some exposition about Kaiser's backstory. Maybe when they got doxxed, or maybe otherwise.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, Allfather Kaiser, Aster. So she's a third generation.
That's true. I don't know that we've had that. I mean, there haven't been capes for that long.
No, exactly.
So Allfather must be someone who had a trigger event very late in life.
True.
Yeah, which proves that it's possible, I guess. We hadn't really known before this.
Yeah. I'm just offering a less loaded reason for her
fair,
to be
and I like that. I like that a
important.
lot. Yeah, because I don't think we have any. Yeah, Glory Girl Panacea haven't had babies yet.
Right.
Yeah. It does seem like no matter what happens, Jack is not going to be killing Aster 2 years from now. Because 2 years is the deadline, and then he has to kill 998 more people before he gets to Aster. So, like, that's just going to take a while.
Well, he did say he would do something weird, like, he's like, oh, maybe I'll do poison, or I'll do, like, not my usual method.
Right, but, like, you got to assume that, like, Purity is going to be protecting Aster, particularly around that deadline. Like, he's not going to be able to do it on 2 years on the dot. Like,
I agree with you that it's narratively significant, but I would also say it's not like Dinah and Jack are comparing calendars and being like...
They didn't sync their watches. Yeah. Okay, it might be like 2 years and 2 weeks, and she might be rounded. Yeah.
And maybe Dinah can fill us in more about the specifics.
Right. He might kill 1,000 people within a few weeks. That is fair. I was kind of thinking about one by one, but you're right that he said he might do something kind of spectacular and kill a bunch of people at once.
Yeah. It's not looking good.
No. Well, I wonder if whatever he'll do to kill a bunch of people at once will accidentally kill, like, everyone instead of just 998 people, then
That's
Aster
a good point.
and Theo.
That's
like,
another
that
good angle
seems...
on it.
Yeah. The really weird thing is, unless the structure of this book changes a lot, I just don't feel like we're going to get there in this book.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very long book, but, like, we're going day by day here.
Yeah.
Sometimes we skip a week.
Yeah.
But, like, the idea of us getting to 2 years from now, like, we would have to have a big time jump.
Yeah.
Which maybe we will.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
From this side of a potential time jump, I don't want it because we are so rooted in the characters. And even losing that week with Taylor, I felt like we were very outside. We were very distanced from her. And it's been so fun to be so viscerally in it and watching the day by day. And I would hate to miss that much of Taylor's journey. Because things would happen that would be significant. We've only had, like, a couple months, and it's all been so important.
Of course.
So I'm not sure. I don't want a time skip. I have enough faith in Wildbow's narrative that, like, I feel like if a time skip happens, it will be satisfying and it will feel like it was necessary. You know? But I can't say that I'm like, let's do a time skip.
Yeah. The other interesting element that you mentioned, but also it doesn't quite click into place, and I'd be curious if you have any speculation on it, is this idea that, like, okay, we've set up this 2-year deadline, something dramatic happens, and the world ends. But even if Jack dies tomorrow, from where we are, it still happens eventually.
Yes.
Right? So that is such an interesting piece of it that it feels like almost nonsensical with what we have so far, but who knows? Who knows?
I mean, maybe he's gonna, like, break into a lab and set some kind of virus free, and it's a virus that will eventually enter the human population regardless. I mean, I guess I just, have pandemics on the brain.
Yeah.
But that would be a really brutal pandemic. I mean, much, much worse than COVID.
Whatever Jack's creative idea is the type of thing that triggers it. And if not him, maybe someone else comes up with the idea eventually.
Yeah. It's funny that that Dinah can see it killing so many people, but can't see what it is. She knows it's not cutting the planet in half, but she doesn't have an answer for what it is.
Yeah. I'd be really curious to learn more about her, like, limits or...
I mean, we gotta get the Dinah interlude.
Yeah. That'd be great. I am really glad that you made the connection immediately, because something I was thinking about on the reread, though, is like the Dinah prediction to Jack doing this timeline, where like Dinah's like, oh, he ends the world in 2 years. But that was a couple days ago from this night, I think, right?
Probably, yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure the bitch interlude couldn't have happened sooner than like same day of the merchants fight, because it's like that's the day when they were all going to go claiming their territory. So like, if bitch has staked some kind of claim, and that's like a couple
days maybe after that,
the Dinah scene, right?
Yeah.
So this idea that like it happens in 2 years, like in this scene, I definitely don't read it as Jack came in, you know, planning to manipulate Theo into getting here, because we'll talk about Jack, but like, there's even the bit where he starts pontificating a little bit. Theo notes that, like, it sounds like he's just kind of...
He's off the cuff.
He's off the cuff, free associating.
Coming up with the idea as he says it.
Yeah, but what that means to me is I feel like Jack has had some kind of idea, like, well, wouldn't it be fun to make a nemesis, or like, wouldn't it be fun to have this kind of like countdown, you know, where I'm like... I challenge somebody to come and kill me. Like, I bet he sort of like had the idea as like
this isn't completely new,
a fun fantasy, and then here all of the pieces click into place, and he deploys it. So it's sort of, I'm interested in the contingency of like, if this scene doesn't go exactly this way, and Jack does end up killing Theo, Aster, Purity, you know, like, would he maybe have made this offer in some other way? You know, like, or did Dinah see, like, everything in this scene was pretty much preordained by the time Dinah made that prediction, right? Like, I'm really wondering kind of how that piece of it works.
Right, like Jack was always going to choose Oni Lee, and then Oni Lee was always going to be disappointing, which seems like a given. But then Jack was always going to completely trounce him in a fight.
Right.
And then decide to aim for Purity next. Right,
but then, and like this... I didn't mean to say this, but this scene is like on a knife's edge of tension, right? Because I feel like there is something about Theo's character that like just keeps Jack from getting set off long enough, right? He holds out just long enough to set into motion this larger plan and stave off everybody.
I love Theo.
Yeah.
Theo's the best.
Yeah, well, before we get into Theo, I want to hear a little bit about, like, as you were reading this, like, how did the tension of the scene work for you? Like, were you expecting it to go one way or the other? Did we end up kind of getting, you know, the everyone walks away resolution you were expecting? Or, like, how were you feeling as you read it?
Well, the first couple pages were like a little bit of a fake out, because you think Theo's sitting there with like Purity talking to Aster, and then you realize like, oh no, Theo's like really tense.
Yeah.
Does he hate it that Purity is like fond of Aster? No, he's expecting to die. Oh, it's not Purity. Oh no, okay. Yeah. So that was a fun journey. And then once Theo, I think, said, like, I want to be a superhero, I was like, oh, I really want this kid to live. I mean, I wanted him to live the whole time.
Yeah.
But once he said that, I was like, I want him to get powers and I want him to live. I kind of expected him to trigger.
Yeah.
Especially
100%.
Because we know that trigger events are really hard on other capes. So that could have helped him escape.
Right.
I expected him to trigger, or I did expect something else to happen that would result in him surviving.
Yeah.
Or I expected him to die. Like, I did think that was a real possibility, that this chapter would just build up this character that we'd be really fond of and he would die.
Yeah.
And that would have
been really brutal. Really hate Jack Slash.
Yes.
I mean, he sucks.
I mean, he's the worst.
It would make it personal in a way that it hasn't yet.
He's worse than Emma.
Oh, we've reached a new low. I love that. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, so I did think it was possible he would die. I did not expect the everybody walks away ending.
Yeah.
Because I also knew that there was a possibility that Jack would get killed in the city. That was mentioned in Dinah's predictions. So, like, maybe Purity was going to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of different options.
So, Theo.
Theo. I love him. He is just like a good kid who is like helpful and responsible and has completely risen above his father's ideology.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to be a superhero and like I'll probably get powers and I don't want to join Purity's gang. Even though he does say, like, he loves her. Like, he has that, he loves her but doesn't like her. And she likes him but doesn't love him.
That is when I was like, Theo, you're breaking my heart. Because what he says to Jack is, I love her, but he thinks to himself, but I don't like her.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get the reverse piece of it. Yeah,
this awareness that, like, this person who is now your guardian, like, she's taking care of him now that Kaiser is dead. This awareness that this person likes you because you're, like, useful and pleasant to have around, but, like, doesn't love you because you remind her of, like, and it's very insightful to know it's because you remind her of your dead father who did not treat her well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really rough.
And that he has had this fantasy because he's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to get powers one day. So even if he wanted the option of like, oh, well, maybe I just will never trigger and then I don't have to join Empire 88 because I'm not important, right? Like I can just be a nobody. He's sort of like, okay, actually, I probably will. But I feel like he's kind of like biding his time. I mean, I don't know how much of a fantasy it is, but the idea is like, well, when my powers arrive, then I can make a clean break, right? Like, it's like, I don't have to, join up.
Yeah.
I can be a hero and use my powers for good.
Yeah. I mean, much more feasible now than it would have been under Kaiser. Like, certainly if he presents with powers, Purity is going to try to get him to join her, like, the Pure or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think she'll be really crappy about it. Like, she'll be very, like, manipulative and guilt, like, inducing. And she'll put a lot of pressure on him, like, in a way that, like, she won't think is evil. Like, she's just getting him to do the right thing and, like, help. And, this is... Like, why would he want to go to, like, strangers who don't like her? And I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that play out. I think now she has an inducement to not do that now that, like, her and Aster's life are, like, in the balance.
Yeah.
For this whole gambit with Jack.
I guess, briefly on that, right, we don't really get anything from Caden, but, like, how do you think she feels, like, in this moment and then, like, getting the full debrief? How is she going to react kind of immediately to what has now, been laid at her feet?
I feel like she's someone who's really prone to, like, anger and annoyance.
Like, I agree.
There is a strong interpretation of this that's like, Theo, by being interesting to Jack, just saved Aster's life. Yeah. Like, I think you can't really argue against that.
Yeah.
But I think she would probably feel like, okay, well, you probably should have been able to do something else beforehand. Not that she would really think that, but, like, just because she wants to, and she wants to be able to blame him. And she doesn't like this situation where if he doesn't kill Jack Slash in 2 years, Jack is going to track down Aster and kill her, among other people who she doesn't really care about, probably.
Right, and so for Caden, it will be, well, you have to do all of these things to save Aster, right? Like, she'll be heavily invested in his fate, but not for him.
No, not for him.
Yeah.
Right, because otherwise Aster will die as, like, a 3-year-old or whatever.
Yeah. She also got, like, totally called out in a very tattletale-like manner about her powers weakness.
Jack is smart.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be. His power's not, like, that good. He makes blades longer or whatever. Like... There are people with more intense powers than that out there. Yeah. But he is very, very good at finding people's weaknesses, both in terms of, like, what makes them tick and in how their power actually operates.
And I'm really going to be curious, like, does he have a thinker backing him up, or is he really smart? Because it seems to have nothing to do with his power. Or maybe it does, and we don't know that yet, right? Like, but
that's true. He could have some thinker powers going on. But I would be willing to guess he's just smart because it seems like he likes thinking in this way, like being philosophical and stuff. Right.
Yeah. Another, like, philosophical Slaughterhouse 9 member. Though, like, it's not like he and Siberian are, like, bantering back and forth. No. Because we know Siberian's never said anything. So, it is so funny because, like, he he is very whimsical in the scene, right? Like he's sort of thinking out loud. There's this bit at the beginning where he's like cooing over Aster and he's like, I don't get it. And then we meet him as he throws a baby across the room. Right.
He's like, I'll see if this has appeal. No.
Right.
Toss.
And so I take that as genuine whimsy and not total calculated performance. But
I think so, yeah.
I do wonder a little bit, like, he is kind of like, oh, she's not your mother? Oh, yeah, I met Kaiser one time, right? Like, he seems like he's just kind of drifting through the scene, like, he's not really heavily invested. And then he sees Purity, and he's like, oh, I know you're not going to kill me because I'm going to detail out your power, like, in what the weakness
There's
is.
a little tattletale in him.
Right, so like I felt like he suddenly focused up and was able to, like, really, in a non-whimsical way, be like, actually, I don't think you can beat me right now, and that's going to be enough to let me walk away.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of like a sort of precision that I wasn't really expecting from him up until that point in the chapter.
He's someone who has like a lot of panache. Like he really thinks through things in a way that lets him be strong enough, be well informed enough. We know that knowledge is power in so many ways in this world to kind of dance through these situations and do things that interest him. And he's not really afraid of losing. Like, it seems like his worst enemy would be, like, boredom.
Absolutely.
And so he's willing to risk his own life, but, like, it's also fun for him to find ways to win in that kind of situation.
Right. And like, Oni Lee, we learn, is kind of Jack calls him a tabula rasa. He's someone that is very powerful as an assassin, but in the absence of Lung or Bakada, has just been sitting in his apartment and sort of killing people opportunistically. And Jack is not the type of person who says, great, I'll have Oni Lee, like, I'll just tell him what to do and that'll increase my
he's
abilities.
Not interested in that.
Right, he's like, oh, you're boring. Right? Like he's like, I don't want, I need a person who I can play with. Right, in whatever way he likes to play with people. And
and apparently he's very good at it. He's the one who keeps all these volatile personalities together.
That's his reputation. It makes sense. It makes sense.
He's fascinated with this idea of his impact. And, like, this is why he kills people, because he's just so enraptured by the idea of, like, what are the things they would have done that now they won't do? And I made that difference in the world.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of, like, the way Violet, our 2-year-old, will play with stories about, like, oh, and then I cut mommy in half. And, like, and, like, just sort of this, like, playing with this idea of power. But, of course, when a toddler does it in stories, it's, like, toying with this idea in a context where it's appropriate to toy with an idea. Right. And Jack seems like someone who has carried that into the real world and is just toying with the idea, but in reality. Yeah,
he sees the real world as a narrative where he gets to play and like see what happens. And that's kind of how he responds to Theo, where he's kind of like, oh, I kind of like this tale you're spinning. Like, the way, I want to see this. Yeah. I want to see this.
This has story potential. I would read this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where he's like, okay, cool. Like, this is awesome. Like, I've completely changed my plan. I'm into this.
Do you think maybe he is actually outside of the story and he was like isekai'd into it?
Really interesting. He does have that type of perspective, for sure.
Maybe he's called Jack Slash because he was reading slash fiction about this world and then got sucked into the story he was reading.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. This is a very, very good theory.
Thank you. I thought so. It's my one that's most likely to be correct, I think.
Yes. And I mean, if he has metatextual powers, pretty easy to end the story.
That would be amazing if he had metatextual powers. I love that idea. I guess we'll see.
I don't know. Or will we?
Will we be killed too? Is he metatextual in our world? No, but you're right. Will the story go that far?
What do you think of his vibe? Right, we got a description of what he looks like.
I don't even remember. I have to go look at his vibe again.
The thing that stood out to me about it is he apparently has an intricate pattern in his beard, but he's let the stubble grow out so you can't tell what it is, which is like, I feel like is also a sort of whimsical note of like, oh, I got really into having this intricate facial hair, but then he kind of got tired of it and he's letting it grow back out again.
Yeah. I feel like he has a Captain Jack vibe in my mind, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. That is exactly, I mean, you're right.
Thank you.
You're indisputably right. I wasn't going to say it before you, but...
Like he's kind of swaying,
Yes.
playing with the knife between his fingers.
Yes. Oh my god.
Talking weird, but also defeating everyone.
Yeah.
Toying with the world. I didn't actually see most of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies because I was so annoyed by the second one that I didn't keep going. But doesn't he, like, destroy the world or almost destroy the world or something?
I have only seen the first movie, so you're asking absolutely the wrong person.
All right, well, the listeners can tell us.
I did like one thing in the chapter. There were a couple of times, right, while Theo is changing Aster, Jack comes up behind him, his shadow cast long by the setting sun, stretching over Theo and the changing table. And then later, Jack says, "You're sharp, little boy." Theo couldn't see Jack move, but again, the man's shadow fell over him. And Jack doesn't use his knife, but his shadow in this scene has the same effect of like he's projecting it out long and like covering Theo, right? He's covering Theo's future now with like this promise of their future conflict. I really liked the shadow knife metaphor.
It's just the one literal application that he lets people see of his stretching his effect powers.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, right. So it's also such a different type of power because we've seen a lot of physical brute coercion. We've seen like what Coil does is more coercive with like money or drugs, right? But with the immediate effect of do what I say. And Jack is not doing that.
Yeah.
His power is like strong enough that he's like, do whatever you want, but I'm setting you a deadline.
Yeah.
Right? At which point I will have the power to, affect this outcome.
I was thinking a lot about Coil. Like, they're both people who control people, who set up sort of groups under their control. And they both have this thing about finding someone's weakness. Coil calls it like their fundamental need, or I forget exactly what phrase he uses. And Jack calls it their keystone, the stone in the arch they can't lose or they'll crumble.
It is funny. I don't know if this is me being too nitpicky, but like, it's pretty easy to find the keystone if you're looking at an arch. Like, I think what he's saying is more like, well, people don't have an obvious one the way an arch does, and I like to find it. But I'm also like, if you feel so good about yourself that it's like, oh, see that arch? I bet I can spot where the one stone that holds it all together. It's always in the same spot. It's not like one of the other ones.
I mean, also with many arches, wouldn't it fall even if you take out like any stone? Like, I guess it depends on the context of the arch.
I'm not totally sold. But I think probably I am being too pedantic.
Maybe. The difference between Coil and Jack is that Coil finds people's fundamental need and gives it to them so that they serve him forever. And Jack finds people's fundamental need, and it seems in many cases, maybe it varies, he takes that thing away to see how they'll react.
Yeah.
He like takes aim at people's weakness rather than sort of,
and
using it to reel them in.
Right. I was thinking about the sadism of what he is doing. He's basically like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill Aster just so I can see the look on Purity's face. Right. Like,
he's hungry for that experience the way we've seen like with Regent and what else did we see that we compared it to recently? Regent's thing.
The comparison I was going to make was just to bitch in the last chapter, her just liking dominating her minions, right? Which is a very different kind of feeling, because that's a lot more like Bitch's thing is all about status and sort of the joy of like, oh, I'm going to show that I'm higher status than you. And like Jax is a whole other level of twisted sadism. But there's a resonance there in terms of like, enjoying the negative effects you're having on other people.
Right, yeah. and being hungry for other people's emotions really did make me think a lot of Regent.
Very interesting. Very
emotional
interesting.
Vampire aspect.
Yeah. So I wanted to get your take on one of the through lines in this chapter. How much is Jack manipulating and targeting Theo? Because I think you can read the chapter as Theo is a non-entity. Jack is just kind of using him the way Caden uses him to take care of Aster and like stall for time.
Yeah, and like what information can I get from you that will be like, when will your mom be back?
And he's does she care about you? Gets he's sort of intrigued like bit by bit, and it's just a little bit like, well, it's a little bit like, oh, I'll kill you tomorrow thing. It's like, oh, I'll kill you in a minute. No, I'll kill you in a minute. No, you're still interesting. I'll kill you in 2 minutes. But
the Scheherazade thing.
Yeah. I wonder if he's being a little more intentional about poking at Theo, trying to figure out what makes him tick, trying to find a keystone, because he sets up the moment. He sets up Theo's badass moment where Theo says, I would kill you, sir. Because he says, I do remember your dad. Yeah, He's one of the few villains back in those days who would even look me in the eye. Right. And then in Theo's moment, when Jack is really pressuring him, like digging in on, oh, you'd be a hero. Oh, what are you going to do? You're going to like talk to kids at school, oh yeah, of course. Well, what about like the real bad people? What would you do? And Theo finally meets Jack's eyes in that moment.
Oh, I missed that. That's so good.
You, I would kill, sir.
Yeah. Sir.
And so it's a beautiful thing if he does it intentionally, but I do wonder if I should give Jack credit for being like, maybe the anecdote about Kaiser is not even true, and he's just like, oh, like this kid is like, he's so limp and nothing, and like I can't provoke him. I threw a baby at him. Like he's not reacting at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, maybe he's got daddy issues, and he sets up this whole thing, and then after he says that to him, is he trying to make eye contact this whole time? Yeah. And part of why
does he bother bringing him to the bathroom to see Oni Lee?
Right. And so part of his reaction of like, ooh, like, okay, he looked at me like I kind of was hoping that I would make him crumble. Yeah. Right. I would crush that dream. But actually there's something here.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if Jack was seeking that, or if he really just didn't give Theo the time of day.
I think you could definitely interpret it both ways. It is entirely possible that the anecdote about Kaiser is true. He knows that Kaiser is dead. He failed with Oni Lee and is like, yeah, I don't really know who else to target. Like, maybe Purity is a backup plan, but like, I want to see what Kaiser's kid is up to. Does he have powers? Like,
Yeah.
Is he and his father, like, maybe he'd be a good recruit, and when he meets Theo, it, like, turns out, like, Theo is not someone who would consider joining the Slaughterhouse-9, and he doesn't even have powers yet, but he does have this other potential. So I don't think he came in with the plan to make this kind of deal.
Of course not.
But yeah, I think maybe he wanted to see what he could drive Theo to. Like, this was his test of Theo.
Yeah.
And if Theo had failed, he would have killed Theo and Aster. Yeah. If Theo had succeeded in a different way, he would have found himself recruited.
And I think part of the reason I'm wondering about that is because it's sort of this vibe we get of Jack of being like interested in like where the story is going in a way that, most characters are not. Theo takes so much agency in this chapter to keep the situation controlled, right? We see him and he is paralyzed. But
he's paralyzed the way, like, Taylor is being deliberately, strategically passive at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. And this whole thing about, like, he knows to call people sir, right? I read so much into that of, like, and I think your instinct about Purity is right, too. Kaiser was awful to him, but Purity wasn't much better. Like, I think they both lose their temper, would yell at him. I feel like Theo has learned a coping mechanism of not responding to the adults in his life. Like
pacifying as much as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so it could even be that those coping mechanisms are keeping him from triggering in this moment, right? Like he's not having a full breakdown, but like just living with these
abusive, knows how to deal with this
semi-abusive parents, right? In a way that is more normal than like, you know, what Regent was going through. But even Regent didn't trigger, we haven't learned anything about the specifics of his trigger event, but he didn't trigger from what Heartbreaker did to him in that flashback that we read,
true,
right? Like he was living with Heartbreaker, you know, for a really long time. So like, I feel like there could be a similar phenomenon there of like,
you don't trigger from the things you're used to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so maybe this situation is just a little bit too much like living with someone like Purity. And the other thing that I was going to say, the way that Purity goes like snap into her Purity mode, like she's suddenly covered in, you know, light. That's also like someone who's losing her temper very quickly. I feel like it works kind of for her personality.
Right.
So yeah, Theo then he's thinking so carefully like, well, what if I stall? What if I give Purity one clean shot, right? He's not thinking, oh God, how do I survive? He's really keeping a level head and trying to get the best outcome out of the situation. And I almost feel like he's like, okay, well, Jack's probably going to kill me no matter what I do, but like maybe I can engineer things so that he'll die too, right? Which is a noble thing to do in this moment. And then even at the very end, it's Theo who convinces Caden to let Jack go because he's like, no, don't. He falls on her. He's grabbing her, right? Like he's really, really trying to take that situation into his own hands in a way that's like, do not
makes it clear that his like passivity at the beginning is strategic, you know, and is deeply, desperately felt.
Right. So it's so interesting. And again, his boldness to meet Jack's eyes saves the day here. I mean, putting aside whether it dooms the world in 2 years or not, right? But like that he has this moment to moment strength and also some like very deep inner strength or like willingness to speak truth to power or something, right? Like, or, you know, now once he knows he's going to die, he like rather go out on his terms.
Yeah. I'm so bummed that we are presumably not going to get to follow his story in a great amount of detail.
Yeah.
Because I just love him as a character after this chapter. He would be a great protagonist. Maybe he's the hero of Ward.
Yeah. You could become a superhero by becoming a Ward.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Did I talk about on the air the possibility that, like, what if Ward is just a retelling of Worm, but where Taylor joined the Wards instead?
I don't know. I mean, it's not an episode that we've released, but it could be one we've recorded.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'll just say it now then.
I love the idea of...
Yeah. It's not a continuation of Worm. It's actually just...
a do-over.
The story, but yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor's a Ward. She'd have a different cape name, I bet.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know. The Wards did come up with her cape name the first time.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I guess I shouldn't react. But it would be very tough to deal with my relationship to all of the different characters if Taylor has a dramatically different relationship to all of the characters. That would be
fascinating.
It would be tough.
I'm trying to think of what name she might have. She could be like Arachne.
Yeah.
Weaver. She doesn't just control spiders. I don't know why I'm fixating on spiders.
Yeah.
Her costume is spider silk.
Yeah.
She'll just be silk.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting back to this chapter. Theo, there was something about Theo that I thought was really interesting and characterful is that he's very happy to explain to Jack, yeah, well, my parents got divorced, so like Puri doesn't like me because of how my dad treated her. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on to think, and she'd have to look through my doughy face to even see the resemblance.
Oh, yeah.
And this, you know, his self-image issues, like around his weight, the fact that he's not an athlete like his father wanted him to be. And like, you know, leading up to that moment of courage where he makes eye contact with Jack, it is fascinating because I love it because he doesn't equivocate. He rises to the occasion, right? But he embraces in this moment a little bit living up to his father.
Yeah.
Not because of his ideology, but because of this like manliness element. Yeah. So it's like
kind of the courage. Yeah.
Yeah. He feels, you know, emasculated comparing himself to Kaiser. And in this moment, he gets to, you know, man up, so to speak, and make eye contact with this, you know, evil villain guy. And then he's also doing it saying, I'd kill you. And Jack's like, oh yeah, you'd be a vigilante. Sure. So it's a little bit like...
He's like, I can't see it. And Theo's like, I can't see it either.
Right. I love that too. But it's like real men will kill when necessary. Like Theo wants to be a superhero, but he also believes this to be true.
Yeah.
And so it's a really interesting... I really like the depth of character there, that this self-image and insecurity about his manliness kind of like cuts through the sort of hero versus villain, of it all, and his like family legacy in a really interesting way.
I'm intrigued by the gendered lens that you're putting on it, because I'm not sure how much that's in the chapter. Like, it could be that that's there and I just didn't particularly pick up on it. I do remember, like, Jack was like, he made eye contact with me, like the ball's on him or something. But like, were there other things that like were particularly about being a man or, being emasculated?
That's interesting, because I don't know how much of it... I definitely had this take on Theo when we saw him from Purity's interlude.
Yeah,
but I don't know exactly if this is me viewing Theo a certain way on a reread, or if it's me more projecting.
Yeah.
I will say...
it's certainly an easy lens to put on it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I will say, right, so like some other beats we get from Theo, there's this lovely moment when he's holding Aster when they go into the bathroom and look at Oni Lee, and he shields Aster's eyes.
He's like, she wouldn't understand.
Yeah, she wouldn't understand, but it made him feel better.
Yeah.
Like protecting the innocent child makes him feel better, right? And so I think I read into like Purity projecting onto him like, oh yeah, he likes taking care of a baby, right? Like it's a little bit of this like, it's very easy for me to read it as kind of a like, he is a nerdy, slightly overweight sort of boy who is being compared to a Nazi for whom, this particular masculine ideal is like so important. And so I feel like what is interesting here is the connection of him taking a stand of defiance with the threat of killing Jack. Feels like it is, to me, exposing a deeper set of internalized values, right? Theo knows he's not a white supremacist, but he's still struggling with like, masculinity or whatever else he's picking up from the world around him. I think that's how I read it, you know, and maybe it's just easy to read a masculinity lens onto like if with daddy issues, but
I mean, it is, I think, an easy lens to apply because you get like Aster, who's like this perfect creature, and that if Theo were a daughter, it would be different. I think his father would see him differently.
Yeah. And
I mean, a lot of that's projection and knowing that he's a Nazi, Yeah,
taking a step back, in our society, it's like war is gendered, right? Like men are supposed to go off and kill people, and there's a read on that it's, protecting the innocence of those who are left behind. There's also kind of like being a superhero who goes out and kills people, like the kind of care work that Theo is actually doing day to day is very feminized in our culture too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so...
But he does view it sort of as protecting.
Right. But part of his fantasy of escapism is like, well, I'll go out on my own. I'll be independent and maybe I will kill people who are really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he also, I don't know how genuinely he feels it. Maybe it's just like, well, I've got nothing to lose. And like, maybe Theo's feeling a little bit of the narrative too. And he's like, this would be a cool line. Like, I could say this. Right? Because he does doubt himself a little bit later. But I read it as a more genuine, like, he's finding a side of him that is realizing, no, he would kill Jack. Like, I think he believes it.
Yeah. Because he does say, like, a page earlier in my version, like, I don't want to fix the world by killing people or through hate.
Right.
And he doesn't take back the hate part, but he does say he would kill Jack.
Right.
But it does feel very strongly felt when he says the people like you I'd kill.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I want him to get powers so bad.
Well,
what do we think they're going to be?
What do you think his trigger event would be?
Well, it's clearly not this chapter. He's just really scared of bugs. So Skitter's going to give him his trigger event.
I love that. I love that so much.
I don't know. I don't know that I could extrapolate his trigger event from here, but I hope we see a lot more of him in the story. I have no idea if we will. So on another note, I was fascinated by Oni Lee and his apparent inability to reproduce his thoughts when he reproduces his body. Because the way that Jack describes it, it's not like his mind is impaired, it's just empty.
Yeah.
Like, he can still think just as well, it's just that he maybe doesn't have what was in it before.
Yeah.
So he's kind of missing these through lines. And that is a very different, but sort of a piece, cognitive impairment, what we've seen.
Yeah.
Like a really serious one.
Yeah.
Maybe on par with like whatever Labyrinth is dealing with.
It's sort of like, I almost feel like it implies that his power is meant to be like, oh, well, he can duplicate himself, but then I guess maybe his clones always...
They disappear.
They disappear right away. I was kind of imagining like, oh, what if they had a moment to talk? So his like old self could like fill in his new self.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that's just not
they
how
only
his power
take
works.
a few moments to disappear.
But yeah, or it could also just be the like more of a... The more he does it, the more, like maybe it happens gradually and then all at once. The sort of like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things that this implies, we've seen before, but this really drives it home for me, is that whatever gives these powers to humanity, whatever process or being or whatever, doesn't have a care for human cognitive integrity. And it's actually like surprising that we've seen Taylor handle it so well.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if we're going to find out any, like, it's not like everyone has a bad side effect. So, but like her mind is able to direct hundreds of thousands of bugs at a time. That does feel like it should come with a cognitive cost. It doesn't seem like it has so far. Certainly it's come with other costs in her life. But.
And it's also, it's such a good, like, power as metaphor thing, right? Like, he's a teleporter, but he's leaving part of himself behind.
Yeah. And that's like kind of the fear of like teleportation. Like, if you could go through like a Star Trek transporter, would you do it?
Right.
Knowing that it's destroying your old body and creating a new one.
It's just death.
Would it actually be you?
You isn't you.
Yeah. In his case, it's not the same.
Yeah. It's also such a fun narrative answer, because we haven't heard from Oni Lee. Like, well,
right.
Like, well, why not? Right? Like, it's sort of like, what's his deal? He's the lieutenant. And it's like, oh, actually, he's not interesting, right? Like, it's sort of, we are seeing him the same way Jack does, as like, oh, okay, yeah, well, maybe we did want the Oni Lee interlude, but it would have sucked.
Yeah,
right? Like,
we don't want it anymore.
We don't care. We don't care. Now that we know his deal, we're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. One thing I noted is that Jack, he does make a lot of knife jokes, which I found kind of cringe. The one I liked is he says Snicker snack.
Oh, that's really good.
A Jabberwocky reference. But yeah, he talks about like twisting the knife, and he calls Theo sharp and all that. But the commonality with him and Siberian is like they're both very interested in like seeing the world in metaphors, right? Siberian's like, okay, you have to decide, are you a wolf or a dog? And Jack's all being like, oh, I have this effect on people. Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if your theory is correct about interludes, if that will continue, or if it's just it happens to be these two. Did you have any other thoughts for who the treat is for?
Oh,
which
I would
is the vibe of
go
the
back
nine?
And see.
Well, yeah, you can think about it in predictions, maybe. We did get a little nice inside Theo, outside Theo moment when he is saying, Caden, let him go. Right? Theo had to control his voice to keep it from shaking, which is one of those things where, like, we are in Theo's head, so we're like, oh my god, Theo is, like, on the edge, but he might just sound like... normal, or perhaps even, like, so uncharacteristically sure of what he is saying.
True.
Right?
Okay, having looked through half of the Slaughterhouse 9 so far, I think Crawler is a really strong contender for who the body is for.
Okay, I like that.
Taylor says, I'd come across stories about him when I'd been researching possible superhero names for myself. Makes sense. Not pretty. Yeah, having looked through the rest, I think that's my prediction.
Nice. Oh, I was going to call out nominally villain child wanting to be a superhero who's her age makes him an obvious foil for Taylor. So it's really fun to have another character who we can kind of compare her to.
I want them to help each other. He and Taylor and Amy need to be friends.
Okay, now we've got another trio.
It doesn't seem like we're moving particularly in that direction, but that's what I want. With Vista. Vista should be friends with them too.
Okay. I really like that you're like, what's the final supergroup?
That's not really my prediction. It's more like an AU. When I write my fan fiction.
What do you think Jack's whistling as he leaves?
Pop goes the weasel.
That is awesome. That is very, very good. Knowing Jack, it's gotta be Mac the Knife.
Ah, that's such a good point. Yeah. They're both really good plays on his name, so either one could be true. But I think having heard yours, I'm convinced.
Yeah, I mean, my last thought is like, this was also just like very classic, like home invasion horror. Like this is a whole genre of like horror movies. You know, just like, oh, there's this menacing guy who's here to like kill you and your family for no reason. Which is, it's not normally my favorite type of horror, but I felt like it was very effectively done here.
Yeah. I will say, Pop Goes the Weasel is a better song for whistling than Mac the Knife. Like, the tune to Mac the Knife is not really the point. It's all about, like, the vibe. Like, you need the, like, percussion. It's hard to really whistle that effectively, I would feel like. But, like, you can maybe do a couple bars. Yeah, there's just, like, the pauses in it, like, really kind of, it's not as good for whistling.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we'll have to...
But I'm sure he sings it in the shower.
When Jack leaves the narrative, you know, to come and kill us, maybe we'll get to hear which of us is right.
Yeah, probably he can whistle it really hauntingly. Not giving him enough credit.
Do you have any other predictions before we continue?
Okay, so I do think that Taylor will be approached by a Slaughterhouse 9.
Okay.
But does it make sense for that to happen in an interlude?
Yeah,
probably not
Maybe
because she's not the point of view character of the interludes so far. Why would that be in an interlude? So I'm going to guess that we're going to get someone else approached. This is almost definitely not going to happen. But what if it's Panacea?
Okay.
Because she's, like, so close to the breaking point.
Okay.
Like, and she could really mess people up.
Yeah.
Like, they have body modification capes already.
Yeah.
Like, was it Bonesaw?
Bonesaw.
Yeah. And, like, that one that's, like, the tinker with the body. Mannequin. Yep. So I feel like Panacea could really fit in there.
Fits right in. I see the vision. I don't like it, but I see it.
Yeah, I don't think she is gettable by them, and I don't think they would think that she's gettable by them at this point.
Yeah,
she would need to have had a villain turn already, I think, for them to bother approaching her and her family of superheroes. But that would be fun. Okay, so who else? I mean, they gotta go for Regent, right?
Okay.
Like, why would you not go for Regent?
Interesting. And we've already had a Regent interlude, so would we get another one?
No, so you're right. That wouldn't make sense. But we could get an interlude from the member of the Slaughterhouse 9, though that would kind of break the pattern.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, if they go for Gru really would be a nice add to their aesthetic.
Yep.
And we haven't had a Gru interlude, so maybe we'll get Gru.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Okay.
I guess that's my prediction.
Yeah. Are there do you want to speculate about other potential recruits? Or do you want to guess which Slaughterhouse 9 member is involved in the next chapter?
I want it to be Shatterbird just because it's the coolest name and we've had so much foreshadowing.
Okay.
And I guess I'll just say Gru. I don't know that feels quite right, but I don't have a better idea.
Gru gets recruited by Shatterbird.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, I can tell you the first line of this chapter, Interlude 11C, another anniversary bonus. Spitfire had often complained that...
Okay. I kind of forgot about Fault Line's crew. All right, well, maybe it'll be Shatterbird going for Spitfire. That's fun.
Could be fun.
So many villains in town. I guess the Travelers can also be approached. There's just a lot of options.
There are a lot of good options.
Yeah.
And we'll find out more
next time
on Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.